Hello everyone and welcome to another Digimon Ghost Game video. This time I'm going to be going over my quick thoughts of the latest episode of Ghost Game, which is episode 10, Game of Death. So this episode had the group learn of a rumour where if a person is playing a game and gets up to 20 consecutive wins in this particular game, they will be basically taken into this game by this beautiful woman and they basically disappear. We also learned that Kiyoshiro was hooked on this game but stopped playing after he learned about the rumour. So the group eventually get Kiyoshiro, who is very reluctant, to play the game, and Jellymon plugs herself in via USB port, which is a great little touch, and they fight Kinkakumon. We also have a Digimon called Ginkakumon, who is Kinkakumon's brother, who we find out is using the humans to make a liquor by kind of dissolving them, and it's kind of horrifying. As much as Kinkakumon is the villain of the episode this week, Ginkakumon is very much doing something that's a lot scarier, even though he's not as much as a villain. In fact, at the end of the episode, he learns that, and this is in a very Mummymon way of episode 2, he learns that you can actually just buy liquor. You don't have to dissolve humans in order to make it. So it's kind of an interesting take on that kind of, there was a misunderstanding, because while the villain of this episode, Kinkakumon, just still wants to fight after this, the whole taking humans thing, that was more Ginkakumon's thing, and that was kind of a misunderstanding. Kinkakumon still wants to fight. She's still very bloodthirsty at the end. She, in fact, says that she wants to challenge Jellymon again. So hopefully we get another reoccurring character there. That'll be nice. Anyway, so Jellymon is playing in the game, and she's doing really well, but she's basically following Kiyoshiro's inputs on this little arcade stick that he has. But when Kinkakumon merges out of the computer screen into the real world, they have to phase shift into that pseudo-digital world, and Jellymon doesn't quite do as well, and Kiyoshiro has actually passed out. Jellymon is telling him how, they fight best together and how he has to wake up, and she gets quite emotional. And this is actually kind of a great moment. She's very emotional, she's tearing up because Kiyoshiro just won't wake up, and she ends up getting, she reaches over to him and Kinkakumon steps on her, tentacle, and it looks really painful. It's just really well animated, this whole scene. And then she reaches over again and actually electrocutes Kiyoshiro awake, and this kind of almost flips a switch in his mind and makes him really, determined. And then we have, and I guess we've kind of seen him have that switch flipped before when he has to, take charge of something. And this electrocution flip switch thing that goes on actually helps make Jellymon evolve to Tesla Jellymon, and she's able to defeat Kinkakumon. So, in general, this episode was really, really great. I like the fact that Kinkakumon still kind of just wants to fight, and Ginkakumon is kind of, as I said, Mummymon from episode 2, in which doesn't really get something about the human world and doesn't realise that you can just buy liquor. You don't have to dissolve human. So that's kind of interesting, but definitely it's horrifying, the fact that he was dissolving humans into liquor. That was scary. But I love this episode. It got quite emotional, especially when Kiyoshiro was passed out, and it was very moving to see Jellymon so distraught over seeing her partner in that way. It was great, and I just really enjoyed that. But however, while I said I do love this episode, I'm starting to think that Ghost Game has a slight problem with the whole fact that it's a 20-minute episode per episode. It seems that a lot of these episodes in Ghost Game have a really, really strong first 15 minutes, but then at the end they've only got 5 minutes to really wrap everything up. And it's usually done in a very quick battle or discussion those last 5 minutes. And it's more or less in every episode, and I feel like that Ghost Game really struggles from being limited to 20 minutes, because a lot of these good episodes I always feel could have been better because they had such a strong start, and they spend a lot of time building up whatever the monster of the week is and explaining what the situation is, who the Digimon to blame is, this culprit, who the victims are. The group kind of do some research on their own. And while this episode had it a little bit more close to home because it was Hiro's friend Kotaro who got sucked into the game, and Hiro and Kiyoshiro actually witness this event. So it's a bit more close to home. They don't have to research as far. They know what game it is. It's a game that one of them is already familiar with. They don't have to have a training montage. One of them is already really good at it, and Jellymon can insert herself into the game. So it has less of that research that they have been doing in other episodes, but it still feels like at the end of the episode it struggles just a little bit finishing it off because it feels very rushed. We meet the Digimon, and we have to have a face-off, but we only have 5 minutes left. So we have a very quick battle, and then like a brief talk at the end where we slap the Mon of the Week on the wrist and say, hey, that's not how you do it in the human world, behave. And that's basically how every episode goes. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing that it has that formula, but I definitely feel like this season suffers from being in such a short format, not just a little bit longer. I think even if it was a 30 or 40 minute episode, I feel like it would get the overall story of each episode across much better. It would feel a lot less rushed. But having said that, I still enjoy this season, and I'm really looking forward to every episode. And this episode, I think it might have been my favourite so far. I really liked it. I felt like... something I really like about Ghost Game is that a lot of the characters have something to do in each episode, and I also was worried that it would be more focused on Hiro because Hiro has had the main focus and main input in the battles, and now we have Tesla Jellymon showing up, so that's super good, and it means that the other characters will be able to participate more in the battles rather than just being more of supporting characters. And I really appreciate that. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this show because I think this could potentially be my favourite season of Digimon. But I know that saying that might end up jinxing it, so maybe I shouldn't have said that. But previously, Atmon was my favourite. And as much as I love Atmon, I wanted to be dethroned. And so far, 10 episodes in, because I like to say if something gets you in the first 10 episodes, it can be a good season. And this definitely got me as of the first episode. But now that we're 10 episodes in, I feel like we can really go somewhere with this. I'm really looking forward to seeing more from the characters, seeing more from this universe. I love it so much, and I'm really looking forward to more. And episode 10 was a really strong continuation of it. It was a really strong evolution episode, even though, as I said, the last 5 minutes felt a little bit rushed. I'm not sure how I feel about Tesla Jellymon's design. She just looks like Jellymon, but a little bit taller, wearing different pants. But then again, so does Greymon to Metal Greymon. Metal Greymon is just Greymon, but with more metal. Or with metal, rather. So it's more of a natural step of evolution. It's not like a complete different design like some evolutions are. Gamamon to Battle Gamamon, they sort of look the same, but they're different colours. Same with all of the other Gamamon evolutions. They more or less just look like they've just changed a colour and added a few things, but this one seems more like she's just bigger. But again, that could be a good thing because it means that it's more of a logical step to get from Jellymon to Tesla Jellymon. But in general, I like this episode. I am excited to watch more of Ghost Game, and I can't wait for next week's episode because it looks like it's going to be a Ruri episode, and maybe we finally get Simba and Goramon, even though I predicted we'd get that in episode 6 and I was completely wrong. But in any case, those are my thoughts for episode 10, Game of Death. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!